Hey, Kate. Come here whenever you're at. What are you doing? Haven't you finished making dinner yet? It's taking so long for a housewife. You're definitely not very good in the kitchen.
Come on, Mom. I'm not at home today. As I told you before, I have a work today. I prepared your lunch, so if you're hungry you can take it out of the fridge. And you can heat it up then. It's labeled for you.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself making up stories like that? Not to mention expecting your poor mother-in-law to eat cold leftovers. You really can't do anything, right?
They're not cold leftovers, Mom. I made it for you to have for lunch and you can heat it up in the microwave. And I'm not making up stories. What am I supposedly lying about?
Kate, I know. You're a full-time housewife leeching off my son's money. You don't need to pretend you have a job or anything. The truth must be that you're out shopping or something.
What? Mom, what makes you think that? And why would I make up such a lie in the first place? Anyway, I really do have a job. You can ask your son when you see him.
I know you so well, Kate. Do not hide it from me. I bet you're melding off about me to your dreadful housewife friends somewhere. Really, it's just terrible. If you have so much free time, then why aren't you down at the fertility clinic?
Why are you bringing that up of all things?
Although you call yourself a full-time housewife, you go out leaving the chores unfinished, you can gossip about me. And why haven't you and Peter had any children? It must be your fault that I don't have a grandchild. Do you think you should take some responsibility and do something about it? Poor Peter.
Mom, listen. Children are blessings. So I don't need to go to a fertility clinic. If it happens, it happens. And anyway, I do really have a job. Because of the company's policy, I usually work from home these days. But there are times I need to go to the office in person too. I know I've told you this before.
My son has bought such a beautiful house for the two of you to live in. But I can see it's going to waste in your hands. Aren't you ashamed to call yourself a housewife?
I don't call myself a housewife. I told you I have a job. Besides, the house is perfectly fine.
What are you talking about? Honestly, my dear son doesn't deserve such things.
Mom, what do you mean by that?
Peter's finally able to save enough to buy a brand new house after years. But his wife isn't doing anything to maintain it, just sitting around, lazily day after day, letting the place deteriorate. You really are a parasite after all.
Did Peter actually say any of that?
What?
Did Peter tell you he bought the house?
Of course. My son bought the house. This house is on his name. I don't even need to ask him.
Okay, if you say so. Anyway, I'm about to go back on shift now. So don't expect any more messages from me until I get home. And don't forget about your lunch in the fridge. I made it specially for you. So I'm sure you can manage something.
What a cold-hearted woman you are. I don't know how Peter married a good-for-nothing woman like you. My poor son.
Whatever, Mom.
That's over, Kate. You need to leave this house. Now. Stop leeching off my son.
Excuse me?
You're not going to conduct yourself like a proper wife. So I can't let you free vote off my son anymore. You parasite. So I demand that you leave this house.
What are you talking about? You demand that I leave? Why? I have been nothing but decent to you this whole time. And besides, you're the one who decided to come and move in with us in the first place. And now you're asking me to leave? Do you really think that is going to happen?
It's going to happen. I'm Peter's mother, you know. I have the right to decide who lives in our house.
Even though the house doesn't belong to either of you?
Again? Acting all high and mighty. How dare you downplay his achievements? He's worked for years to afford this place. You should show him some appreciation. This horrible attitude of yours is exactly why you're a parasite housewife. You can't have children and doesn't do housework. You have no worth in this world. No worth at all.
Mom, no Ella, what an old-fashioned attitude you have. I'm almost impressed that you can really say that with a straight face. You're not knowing anything about the situation.
Not content with bad-mouthing my son, so you intend to mock me as well now?
Not at all. In fact, I intend to honor your request if you so insist.
Well, you'll be leaving immediately. I feel like my luck is draining away with every second you spend in this house. So do me a favor and vacate the property as soon as possible.
Fine, Ella. If that's how you feel, then I guess there's nothing for it. I'll be gone before you know it.
Well, it's about time. My son and I will finally be free from your burdensome presence. I've been terribly stressed out having to live in the same house with a disgusting parasite like you.
You're really crossing the line, Ella. I've put up with you too much. This is verbal abuse.
I don't care how you feel about it. You'll be out of the house soon. My son bought the house with the money he earned. So we don't want to let parasite like you around who doesn't contribute to the house. Just leave us in peace.
Sure. I don't need to live here anymore. I'll go. You and your dear son can live together happily.
You know that, right? I'm surprised a silly woman like you can get that.
Well, I'll just sell the house then. I need the money to buy another house to live in, you know, right?
What? What do you mean? You sell the house? How dare you?
I don't want to say anymore.
Just a minute there. Explain what you meant by that. How exactly are you planning to do that?
Well, it's, in fact, my house. So if you insist that I leave, I guess that means I have no choice but to sell it. Unless you decide to leave instead. But in which case, I'll probably still sell it. A beautiful house, I'm sure I can sell it pretty easily. But either way, you don't need to live with a horrible parasite like me anymore. Does that reassure you?
What? Wait a minute. What's going on? I don't get it. What are you saying? It's your house? What are you talking about? You've been talking nonsense this whole time. You must be lying to me. Don't act like this house belongs to you when Peter worked hard for years to afford it. How dare you belittle my son?
I'm not belittling anyone. I'm just telling you the truth. This house does belong to me in the legal sense.
How can that be?
I paid for it with my money. The deed is in my name.
I don't understand.
Yeah. The house you've been living in this whole time actually belongs to your cold-hearted parasite. Do you get it? Don't be so surprised. The house is my property, so if you want me to leave, you'll have to purchase it from me.
What? You say that it's not Peter's house?
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to tell you this entire time. Oh, I forget to tell you something. That Peter hasn't gone to work for over a year. He's unemployed.
What?
Oh, it looks like he didn't tell you yet. At first, he did try to find another job. But he gave up when he couldn't find any. He hasn't been to a job interview or sent a resume out in months. He's been living off my money this entire time.
But I see him going out every morning. He also dress up well. How could that be true? I don't believe you.
Oh, it's up to you. You can ask your dear son to check my word. You know what? He just takes the car out and hangs out with his friends all the time. Maybe he wants to look like an employed man to hide from the reality. I know that, but I haven't said anything. I did believe that he would find a job some days. But never did I imagine being forced to leave out my house.
What?
I pay all the bills, allowances, everything. I also know that he steals my money to go down to the racetrack and gambles. He just sits in a bar until after dark, or he just spends the day playing video games at his girlfriend's house.
His girlfriend's? Gambling? No, you're definitely lying. You're making things up again. My son would never do any of those things.
You could believe whatever you want to believe. But it won't change the fact that what I just told you is the truth. You can ask him. The one who's been supporting you this entire time isn't him. It is me. I've been letting the both of you live in my house. I pay for all your expenses.
This can't be happening. That Peter is unemployed, that can't be right. It doesn't make any sense. If neither of you are working, then how have you been able to afford to live?
How many times do I have to tell you? I have a job and I work from home. I've been working since before Peter and I were even married. So I have some savings. But things are different now. I can't take living in the same house with the two of you and dealing with your behavior anymore. I'll be leaving this place, so I'm going to sell the house.
I could wait to ask Peter if what you're saying is true. But if it's true, where are we gonna go? We have no income, I'm already retired. How are we going to live?
I don't have any clue, and I don't even care about this. I guess you'll have to figure that out with your scumbag son and decide for yourselves.
What? How dare you call my son a scumbag? What an awful thing to say about your own husband.
Well, it's the truth, he's unemployed now. So if I divorce him, I doubt he'll be able to pay the alimony. Since we've come to this point, I've already made up my mind to divorce him. I think his girlfriend might help him out with the legal fees.
You're planning to divorce him and sell this house? Are you being serious?
I'm serious. Why would I want to keep living here while supporting my cheating husband? There's nothing in it for me. Anyway, you should make your decision soon. Whether the two of you are going to leave the house, or whether you will stay and buy the house from me. The housing market is still going up. So I recommend you decide quickly.
How could you do this to us? You're Peter's wife. I'll admit I didn't know anything about him being unemployed. But everyone falls on hard times in life. And as his wife, it's your job to support him when things are difficult.
Don't you realize what I did? I did support him for an entire year. Actually, I put up with all your bullying and verbal abuse. I put up with his cheating and let him gamble away my money. But this is what it's all come to you. This is the last straw, to be honest.
But you can't just force us out of the house.
Why can't I?
You're not thinking things through. Consider the situation we'll be in if you do that.
But have you two ever thought about my situation?
What do you mean?
You try to force me to leave when you thought this was Peter's house. You even didn't care where I would live. Did you think about what I would do or where I would go?
Well, you could have just gone back to live with your parents or something like that.
My parents live on the other side of the country. You didn't think about me at all. So you don't get the right to complain when I treat you the same way.
What are you trying to say?
How many times do I have to repeat myself? I'm selling the house. If you want me to leave, that means I have to sell it. Because it's my legal house. Do you understand now? I don't care where you and your scumbag son go.
Really, Kate? How can you take such an irresponsible attitude to us? We're your family.
No, don't say that. Once the divorce is settled, you're just some other people that have nothing to do with. I'm not being irresponsible at all. Although I'm sure you turned as white as a sheep during this conversation. But I'm well past my limit. This is the action I've been driven towards. All of this is your fault. So now take what you deserve.
Please, Kate. Please think about Peter and I a little. I'm sorry for what I did. I'm now enlightened. I beg for you forgiveness.
No, no way. I'm done. I'm done thinking about the two of you. I don't need either of you in my life anymore. No matter how you try and persuade me, I've already made up my mind.
Peter doesn't have a job right now, so how are we supposed to live? Who is going to support us?
Who know? I guess you're gonna have to get a job. You're not old enough to receive a pension.
No, I don't to work. I just want to enjoy my life.
Well, look who's the lazy woman. So, bye now. Never contact me again. After that, Ella found out the truth about her son. She realized that everything I told her was true. In the end, Peter was at a loss. After the divorce, he is still jobless. He's also forced to pay alimony because he'd been cheating and abusive. There's nothing they could do to save themselves.